Welcome to the Inner Journeys Outer Adventures podcast. I'm your host, Corey Jacobson. Today, I've been asked this question a couple times. How do you balance recovery and training? So how do you train hard and balance that with recovery? What do you need to do to optimize yourself and your training and your efforts? So you don't get injured, you make the progress that you want to make, and you perform well if you have an event or a race that's coming up. So diving into that, training is exactly as it sounds. Training. It is not a competition, which means when you are training, you are not going balls to the wall, 100% flat out in your training every day. That is not training. That is competing. And if you're competing every single day, that's going to lead to injury, because you're going way harder than you need to make progress in your training. Training should be slowly ramping up with programmed resets or deload weeks so your body can recover, and then push harder again, and then recover, and then push harder again. If you're doing that over and over again, that is how you're going to get better. Not by killing yourself every single workout you do. So if we take running, for instance, if you're sprinting every single run, your heart rate is redlined and maxed out every single run that you're doing, long distance or short distance, you're not going to get better. You're going to be harming yourself. You're going to be taking away results from yourself because you're overworking your body. Your body doesn't need that much stress to adapt and get better. So I think a good way to encompass all of this is like a hybrid training program, which encompasses lifting and running. So how do you balance lifting and running together, or how do you balance either or? It can be all encompassing what I'm about to talk about. So when you are balancing lifting and training or running days aren't always your hardest days. Actually, some runs are recovery runs. They're slower paced. They're easy to breathe through. You could hold a conversation with it. That is a recovery, because movement is medicine. The more you move when you're stiff, sore, tired, the better and faster you're going to recover. So it's very easy to balance lifting and running that way. You're going to have some hard running days, of course, because you need to push yourself a little bit in training to get better. You're going to have some longer runs because you need to. Again, more time on your feet, the more you're going to adapt and get better at that stimulus. And then I'll just give you an example of my training for a hybrid. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I'm going to be lifting. Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, I'm going to be running. This is leading up to a marathon. So on Mondays, I know I probably can push a bit harder with my lifting, because that's probably when I'm going to be freshest in the week on Monday. I have a day to recover from my long run on Saturday. So I'm going to be pushing hard on that Monday workout. It's going to be a full body lift for me because that just makes the most sense. Hitting all my muscle groups with lifting and running put together. Full body lifting is probably going to be the best for that because you only have 3 days to lift. At least I only have 3 days to lift. Tuesday, my run is going to be an easy run. This is building my aerobic base. It's going to be a slow run that I can have a conversation with somebody with the entire time. That's going to help me recover from my Monday workout. Wednesday, I'm going to be doing another full body workout. Probably not going to be pushing myself quite as hard because I'm having back-to-back lifting days. I'm going to be probably hitting my legs a little bit more on that Wednesday than I would Thursday, because I have a tempo workout on Friday. That's going to be my run for Friday. It's going to be a tempo workout, working my VO2 max, building my high shelf of how fast I can run for a long period of time. So Wednesday is the day that I probably can get after legs a little bit more. Thursday is going to be a lot lighter on the legs because I have a hard running workout coming up. And then Saturday is that long run. Again, and this isn't a kill myself run. Like, I am easing my speed. I'm not trying to set any PRs in the long run. I'm just trying to spend time on my feet and accumulate distance and accumulate time. The more I can do that, the more I'm going to adapt to my marathon and be faster overall at the end. is not about pushing yourself to your max every single time you're training. That's not how you're going to get the best results. There's a very ebb and flow, methodical way of doing it. If you are making sure that you are doing some high effort days and some low effort days, you can train 7 days a week if you wanted to. You wouldn't have to take an off day because you are working hard some days, you're taking it easy some days so you can facilitate recovery, because any movement is going to help you recover, whether it's lifting or running. That's going to help you recover faster. Not just sitting on your ass all day and eating food. That's not going to help you recover. You need to move around, you need to walk or do a workout, but it has to be a lighter workout. You have to be intentional with how you are doing your workouts. That's how you can balance your retraining and recovering enough. Because if you're always pushing it, you're going to get injured at some point, or you're just going to burn out and you're not going to want to train anymore. You have to be aware of yourself enough too when you're training to know when your mind is starting to slip, when your motivation is starting to slip. Motivation will slip no matter what. That's what we have discipline for. But if it's overly slipping, like you have zero desire to train, you're probably overtrained. You're probably burnt out. So it's not just the body. Sometimes the body won't get injured. The mind will be the first thing to go. You will have zero desire to train. You will want to lay in bed all day. You won't want to go out and do the normal activities that you do in a daily life, whether it's going on a walk, going to work. Those things are telling you that you are burning out, that you're working far too hard, and you need to back off. So like for myself, I have 34 weeks planned in my training right now. 17 weeks leading up to a marathon, 17 weeks leading up to my 100-mile trail race. Leading up to the marathon, I have programmed reset deload weeks where I cut in half my volume, whether it's with lifting and with running. I'm easing back so that way I can help my body recover. And then I add more volume, I add more weight, I add more distance, or I run faster the next time. And then I slowly decrease, have a reset week, deload, and then push more. If you are methodically doing that, if you have a well thought out program that is pushing hard in the beginning, slowing off the volume and the amount that you're pushing and the volume of work that you're doing, and then resetting for a week, cutting the volume in half, taking it easy that week, and then pushing harder the next week after that deload week, that is a well thought out methodical plan that is going to help you recover and train to have the most success in your event. Whether it's a CrossFit competition, a powerlifting competition, a running event, a marathon, half marathon, ultra marathon, triathlon, whatever it is, you need to have weeks where you're pushing it, weeks where you're taking a really easy week, cutting off the amount of effort and volume. And when I say volume, that means the reps that you're doing, the miles that you're running, the effort that you're putting in, that is all volume. So if you're cutting that in half, taking it easy, you're still showing up and doing the work because that's going to help facilitate recovery. You can't just take a week off from everything. You have to take it back. You have to bring it back, make it easier. It shouldn't feel like it's a hard week at all. And maybe it feels hard because you've started to burn yourself out a little bit. You've gone a little too far. You've overreached a little bit for too long. Then you might need 2 weeks of a deload, 2 weeks of a reset where you're going a lot less volume, facilitating recovery. You're sleeping enough at night. 7 to 8 hours a night is going to be necessary when you're training for an event or you're working really hard. You're eating enough food. That's another super important thing. Like training for an event or some competition is not a weight loss thing. You can't expect to train for something and lose weight at the same time. It may be a byproduct, but you have to fuel your training. That means you're getting enough protein every single day. You're getting enough carbs. You're getting enough fat to either maintain your weight or you're eating a little extra so that way you can help facilitate recovery. because the body can't pull from nothing, or it'll pull from itself. So it'll start eating its muscle, it'll start eating its fat, it'll start eating its organs to survive. Survival is the first thing for the body. So if you are not eating enough, it's going to eat itself because it needs to power the most vital organs, brain, heart, liver, all of those vital organs and lungs to survive and live and continue going. So eating has to be a part of the equation. Sleeping has to be a part of the equation. Making sure that you are having reset deload weeks when you're going through training to where you are not overly pushing yourself week after week after week. If you're constantly adding volume and you never take it back, you're overworking yourself at some point and you will feel it mentally and physically. If you are not eating enough calories, you will feel it very fast. Within a couple of weeks, if you are working hard, you're going to feel fatigued, you're going to feel tired, you're going to feel burnt out. In a couple of weeks from pushing your volume, your training, and you're not eating enough, you're not sleeping enough, it will affect your sleep too. When you're overworked, you won't sleep as well. But that's so important. You cannot expect to have a weight loss program and train for an event at the same time. It's going to be miserable. It's going to hurt yourself. You may get injured a lot from being in a caloric deficit and trying to optimize your performance, optimize your training, optimize your recovery. Those don't go hand in hand. You can't do that. It just will not work. So make sure, key points, you have programmed deload or reset weeks in your training. You ramp up and then you deload. Then you ramp up farther than what you've done before, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and then you deload. You have to listen to your body. Some people can go more than 3 weeks of ramping up before they need a deload week. Some people can go 6 weeks. Some people can go 8 weeks. But you have to listen to your body and your mind and how you are feeling on a daily basis. Because sometimes it's more practical and better for you to go a longer time ramping up before you have a deload week. It'll get you farther in your training if you can do that. But you still have to understand that if you're pushing it too much and you're going way too long without a reset or deload week, you could get hurt. You could get burned out. You could decrease your performance in the actual race or event that you are training for. And making sure that you are sleeping enough, making sure you're eating enough to facilitate recovery and optimize your performance. Because if you're not eating enough, you will not optimize your performance. You will get hurt quicker. Your sleep will be affected. Your mood will be affected. Your attitude, your demeanor, your motivation will suffer because you don't have enough food and your body's in survival mode where it's trying to eat itself. And that's not good for training. That is not optimal for training for an event. So make sure that you're doing all these things. With lifting, it goes the same way. You go 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of ramping up your training. You're doing more weight, you're doing more reps, you're doing more sets week after week after week. And then you need to deload. Whether that's 5, 6, 7 weeks later. You need to take the weight off 50%. You still need to do the lifts. You need to show up and do it because that helps facilitate recovery. And then you can go back to it the next week. You can start ramping back up again. That's how you make progress. That's how you recover from training. And that's how you make a smart plan that's actually going to get you the result that you're looking for. Rather than burying yourself week after week, day after day, killing yourself in training every single day is not going to get you the real results that you want. So make sure you're sleeping, you're eating enough, you are having reset deload weeks, and you are in your week managing your efforts. One's a hard day, one's a light day. You cannot do hard days all week long and expect to feel good. Thanks for listening. This has been the Inner Journeys, Outer Adventures podcast. We'll see you next time.